are. Fear keeps you the same as what you are. When you overcome it, that's when you have changed. When you change, you get new fears. Fears will always define you. The only way to beat fear is to never stop progressing. The instant you stop, the fear has won. And that goes in pretty much in accordance with what we talked about on Thursday, as we discussed that fear is actually a communication to you. And it's something for us to learn, something for us to use as an actual technique, as an actual motivator in a drive that keeps us going, that keeps us aware of what's going on, and it also keeps us aware of kind of where our mindset is. And fear isn't something to fear. It's something to utilize. And when you have a fear or an anxiety, these anxiety and apprehension, these are all different variations or levels of fear. They're a communication. They're a communication that says pause. And when you pause, that puts you in the CCP, the choice convergence point, so that you can better look at what's going on around you and make a more, a better decision. A decision that's coming not from emotion, but that's coming from data and information that's coming into your field. Gary, what do you got?
Yeah, and I think that which we touched on and talked about a fair amount is, and we talk about it so much, is it does come down to the definition that
Everything
you label it, right?
Right.
And the definition will usually come along with a certain set of what's the word? A certain set of rules, if you will, that to make it valid, right? So if in order for this to mean that, these things have to happen and show up this way, in this order, this amount, and all those kinds of things, to really kind of look at those things and how they impact you and whether they're serving you or not. Because again, it's the emotion, and I even hesitate to call it fear because it already has so many built-in definitions and reasons and meanings for so many people. When that emotion of fight, flight, or freeze occurs, it can serve, and there's times when you want to honor it, and there's other times when you say, hey, this doesn't make sense, or this is not a legit thing for me to have worry or concern or a hold up around. Right. So yeah, so I think it's a big topic, there, because we see here's an example. Like last night, my daughter and I were watching. Friday nights we do movie nights, right? So we're all watching, we're all looking for different movie options, and our TV, when we go to our movie options, the box we have, it shows squares of the different movies that are available. And the interesting thing she had said, and just words that come from kids are always so point on, right? She looks at the screen and she goes, why is there always all these scary movies that are showing up first? And I'm like, never even realized that. She's 8, right? So she's just turning 9. So to her, just what she's seeing, because our society is putting this in front of us, she's seeing these, these things that are so shocking to the system, because that's how they try to get our attention. Mm-hmm. Right. And she just wants to watch, the unicorns and rainbow stuff, right? And we gotta search for that stuff. It's they're diamonds in the rough, if you will, when we're scrolling down, to kind of get to the few that are family friendly. And so it's just interesting how if you look around, how much is based on that when we're looking at societal communication. And the challenge is that we're so numb to it. Most people are so numb to it, they don't realize the damage and the impact.
But isn't that also the same as what we see in media?
That's a part of what I'm talking about for sure.
Right. But I mean, like when we look at the headlines and, as they've said for a long time, bleed leads.
Yeah. If it bleeds, it leads. I know.
And it's part of our nature to a degree. But it's also been taken and used and mutated. It's just like, well, this is, it's kind of like, well, this is a little part, but it seems to be the part that suits us best, being the media companies. And so then they expand on that, and then all of a sudden now that is the primary psychological advantage that they have. And then from there they just build and build and build upon it. I mean, I don't watch a lot of news. I don't watch a lot of the mainstream news. Personally, I have ones online that I like to go to because it's actually news. It's not really a dramatic story. And but when I do listen to, I listen to, some of the talk shows every once in a while. I'll just be in a room and they're playing. And I'm just like, these things have changed. They have changed a lot. They used to be the family friendly, and now they're just, it's just like headline after headline after headline after headline. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is not what it used to be. And
or at least we didn't notice it when we were watching.
Exactly. Yes.
So, I don't know.
Exactly. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But that's, and they have big followings to these shows, and that's what people are going. They're just like, oh yeah, because they're feeding that fear, because there's an addiction that happens biologically in the body as well.
Yeah.
So we have all these these neurotransmitters are just firing, and they're sending this and they're sending that, and it's just like, oh my gosh. And I see it. We all see it. When you see these little clips and these things online, it's just like, well, that person has just basically had enough. We want to label that person. Well, that's just I don't know what's the term, Karen now, or Ken or whatever. It's like, no, I think they just had enough.
Mm-hmm.
And, hi, Ross.
Hey,
hi, Gary.
Hey. Good to see you.
Hey,
hi, Dean. Hi, Mary. Maria.
Hi.
Curly. Matt.
Everyone's here.
Hey, Gary. When'd you get here?
Mm-hmm.
But that's and when we become aware of these, it is so much easier. Because we sit in our choice convergence point, and now we watch these shows like this. They're swirling around us, and we're just watching, and we're just like, yeah, I choose not to participate in that. I choose not to be drawn into that. And if there is a story that is something that catches your attention, it's like, I would like to learn more, you're still participating in that story as an observer. So you don't get drawn into what the emotion that they're trying to incite in you.
I think it's very true, Ross and Gary. I only went through your Thursday today because I've been so busy the whole week. It's impossible,
Yeah.
So I managed to catch it just about finishing, and I like it. And it's so true, because. It's great that we get this awareness, and we should actually get more people to understand that, because I was one of those also when I was growing up, being drawn into fears that is unnecessary, because in movies and in things, so they know what attracts you. Just like my PA, my secretary and all that, we were on the plane, they love to see all the ghost movie, and then they get excited. They get so excited about it, And she is one of those that has a lot of fears about many things. And she loves ghost movie. Then I told her, Michelle, why do you want to see all these things? And then you get so scared and hide yourself all over the, when she's sitting next to me, watching the movie in the plane, and then she get all over. Then I suddenly realized, and when you put it across today, that the media and the politicians know. That's why they put fear in us. The great fear in us to control us, to control where they want to lead us, to control us where they want to take us. So it's a great thing that with this multimedia, there's a plus and a minus. And the plus sector is that we become so much more aware that, hey, we got to wake up to this fear. Don't let this fear control us, rather than be rational, think about it, take the SOP, and be in control of yourself. And then the fear can be turned around to strengthen us.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if you go to, what was it, 2 weeks ago when they had that whistleblower from Facebook, we talked about this last year. I think it was our third or fourth live stream about social media and the way that it kind of sucks you in. But this whistleblower made it very clear. I mean, she says, it's documented that what they do is that their algorithm, their computer, scans all the posts, and then there's certain things that it looks for. And one of the things that it looks for, which I did not realize until this came up, was they look for comments that are extra long. And because on average, if somebody is extra long and they're really, really going, in most cases, they're angry or emotionally charged, and say, oh, well, I'm going to take that one. So this one's important. There's lots of extra text in this one, and we're going to promote this more. Now, that particular aspect of, and we're just talking Facebook, but most social media goes with that as well. But that particular aspect is not it's not a conspiracy. It's greed. Because, and Gary and I have been dealing with this for weeks now with Facebook, is that they want you to stay on their page. And if they keep you angry, they keep you engrossed, they keep you, oh, I'm just going to just get everybody and such, that just keeps them on, that keeps you on their page. Now, the reason they want you to stay on their page is so they can market to you more, so that they can sell products to you. So there is no real conspiracy in that aspect and such. But you have your overall messaging that is coming to the world right now, that is coming down, and it is building that fear, to be fearful of the virus, and fearful of the people who don't have their mask, or fearful of the people who are against this, or whatever the case. And that's where when we see this polarization, the polarization builds anxiety, builds fear, and it builds anger. Because when people have, quote unquote, an enemy that they can focus their attention towards, they stay angry. They stay in that low vibrational state of mind that just keeps them, so focused on that they can't see what's going on over here.
You can't hold love and fear or anger at the same time, right? You're choosing one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't experience it simultaneously. So the thing to think about is, you had mentioned, Jean, that you've got this person who's watching these scary movies, and yet she's got all these fears in her life and whatnot. The reason that they go to those things is because the bombardment of it has been for so long, you start to get numb, right? In marketing, we call it banner blindness, right? Where you see something so much, it just becomes a part of you. It doesn't have the same impact. So that's why marketers change up the billboards, and they change to get something fresh and new there, right? And so when you have a life where your emotions, your primary emotions are numb, then what you do is you seek out ways to kind of feel like you're alive with emotions. And one of the most immediate ways to do that is with fear, because it triggers the fight, flight, or freeze emotions and reactions. And so it's looking for that. And so you'll find that happens also. It's why, I know someone who's similar. He's an older guy, and he just cannot go through his morning without watching all the news headlines. And I'm like, dude, do you know what that does for your psychology for the day? Do you know what that does for the neurology? Do you know what that's doing to your DNA? I mean,
No.
and he's fired up about this stuff. And it's like, I look at it like it's like the news platforms out there. For years I've seen this, like it's not even a recent thing, so this is just the newest narrative that they've got going on. But for years I've seen it where the news, the way they present news and the way they go about it is, it's so what I call soap opera.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
the same thing over and over, different characters. It's always got drama around it. It's you come back, and then some of the old characters that weren't there are now there again, and it's like, it's so soap opera, right? And in soap opera, they figured out that if you have these stories that have this drama, they leave you on the edge, they have these different emotions in there, and they slide in some of the good stuff in there too, to kind of to move you along the way. But there's less of that than there is of the other stuff, and that keeps people coming back. And that's how long soap opera has been on. They've been on for like forever.
Yeah, that's
right?
Actually,
some of them been running like the same title like forever.
Yeah, it's like when we do trainings, when we do live trainings, you get somebody, you do a very, very focused training for 45 minutes, and then you either rest or you change the subject to something different, and it's kind of like, I'm going it's a breathing. And that's what Gary was just describing as what the news does. They get you intense, and then they give you just a little bit of a break.
And when they give you small breaks, then you feel like you're gasping all the time.
Right.
Energetically and emotionally, you're not getting full, solid, heartfelt, synchronous breathing. Your energy, the energy of your body, the emotions that you feel, you're not really diving into the full cycle of them so that they serve you. Right?
Keeping you off balance.
Yeah, and it's, again, to go back to, it's impacting our DNA. And and there's all kinds of research to show, right, that when you have certain emotions, it does certain things to your DNA, whether certain codes are turned on. I mean, there's all kinds of evidence to show that. So if you think then collectively, if all of us are energy, and our DNA impacts what energy is being expressed, and you have these pockets of energy all over the place that are now energy frequent, have this frequency that is developing as a default or a habit of fear, right? Then it trickles more, and that creates more of a fear reality, a fear collective reality that we all kind of say, oh yeah, well, that's, what do you expect? That's what it just becomes a part of what we accept. But we don't have to, because the opposite is true too, is that if we have the DNA that's expressing love and forgiveness and all the other positive the quote unquote good side of our nature, when those emotions are being expressed, it creates that energy frequency too. And if we have enough of those, we can shift the collective reality that we all choose to step into and wake up to. Right. And, I had a experience I'm still processing, but an experience of how we go about actually creating moment-to-moment reality. And I mean, it's still processing the how to explain the details of it. But I got that we are these points of reference in infinity, because that's really what we are. We're all individual points of reference in infinity. But to think of it as these, and I've kind of given the example before. If you think that if even you just look at the image behind me, if you think that all those points on the screen, every pixel on the screen, is a reference of reality, but pull it out in dimensions like this way and that way and this way and that way in all direction, right? We're just one tiny little dot individually, collectively coming together with some connection, right? Which, again, I'll formulate and put it all together, but there's some kind of connection that's keeping us together that we don't see. The plant system on our planet has an underground root system that connects them, right? Above the planet, us as humans has a connection that connects us. And we've talked about it before, and the ancient kahunas called it the Aka cords, these ethereal energetic cords that we have this connection with one another as human beings to know that we are all one, ultimately. And it's the role, the point of reference in the all oneness that you are, that expresses out, that attracts to you the other points of references that are in like to that vibration, right? That then you collectively agree that, hey, we both agree that there's this thing called Zoom, and so, okay, so we're going to get on Zoom this morning. At some level, we all agreed on that. If one of us didn't agree on that, we wouldn't have it as a tool to use. Right? If we didn't all collectively have this idea and this concept of a ticking clock, a time, we wouldn't know to get on at 8 a.m. specifically to PST to have this conversation. So there's all these variables that come into play to create the reality. If we all didn't have, think about this, we all didn't have a definition for a clock that was consistent and congruent, we would never ever meet unless we wouldn't have the tool. No, we wouldn't meet. We wouldn't use the tool called a watch or a clock to get together synchronistically. We would find some other way to do it.
Or you can use the example, if you went to some of the tribes that are in South Africa, and you said, okay, we're having a Zoom meeting at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. They're going to look at you and go, what? Because there's actually no way to translate as well with some of these tribes, because
which is the definition, right? How you translate this through definition. Yeah,
exactly. Because they don't know what tomorrow is. Mm-hmm. They don't know what Zoom is. They don't know what 8 a.m. is, because they don't have a time system, because they haven't created it. As we've always said, this time is something that time itself exists, but time as we measure it is a creation of man. So it's all that definition. Yeah, I mean, Gary's at me. I mean, he's spot on. It's just like, well, yeah. So here, so they are here, we're here, and they're just right there, just a little bit off of center, or maybe we're the ones off center.
Yeah, they're just in a different point of reference, right?
Exactly.
In the infinity space. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what what fear does is it takes you off reference again, even further. I mean, it is or can be a very, very powerful tool of manipulation, a very, very powerful tool for those that know how to wield it.
I think, Ross, most of the people, including Malaysia, the politicians are using it a lot, tremendously. They use it to divide the people out of fear. They use it to hold on to power so that they get elected again. And it's all for personal gains.
Well,
So
you know,
it-
and here's the thing, though, I think about that, because I hear that and I see that point of view. I'm a little less on the side of thinking that there's, I think that there's positive intention behind everything, regardless of the behavior or the action that shows up. So I think that at some level, that individual or those individuals believe that what they're doing is right for some reason, right? We may not agree with it, doesn't make it necessarily wrong. It just means it's their point of reference. And when we don't agree with it, when we don't feel that it's in alignment with us, it just means that we're at our core, we want a different type of experience, a different path, but it doesn't make them wrong. So I kind of try to stay away from the them against us type thing and realize, hey, we're all in this together. And at some level, so even in that, Gene, at some level, energetically, we had to participate in them being in that role to do what they do. Right? We can't be blind from having the responsibility to say, hey, at some level, we were responsible for that. And so we need to say that, okay, so then that we're also responsible for the transformation. And how that happens is to not to play the game of fear, to play the game of love, to play the game of compassion, to play the game of forgiveness, and to play that game more consistently than they're playing the other game.
Okay, Gary, I absolutely resonate with you. I agree with you, but in reality, it doesn't work here. Why? Because for a person to think like what you think and like what I think, they have to reach this level of understanding that this fear is not real. They can change it to something else. But most of them are not in that frame of mind, unfortunately. So they will hang on to the subsidy level that if you vote for me, it will be my subsidy. But then they put the Chinese against the Malays and the Muslim against the other religion and so forth, which we never see such diversity ever before in our country. And it's all done for greed. If our population, we need more of what you're talking about. We need more of that for sure. But it's not easy to influence them, but they need to be. That's why sometimes, just like when I was doing this work for the foundation work and to raise funds, and I realized that sometimes individuals can be so selfish because we are not like that, and we think that they are, because they just see, they just pass it by because it doesn't affect them. It doesn't affect them. Why should I contribute or why should I help? It doesn't affect me. They will just pass it by. It was like a wake-up call to me because I normally, when people ask me for this kind of help, I will help. But then you see, my God, so many will say, okay, I will help. But they mean I will post to somebody and they do nothing. And many people are like that. So that part of the awakening needs to be there. That's why you're kind of
but here's the thing, though, Gene. We can't be responsible for them. We've talked about this before. But so the way that we do that is, as individuals, everybody that's on this call, everybody listens to the stream, everybody listens to our weekly live streams. The way to do that, what you're talking about, is to not to try to go out and change them, but to express more of the truth, who you are, so you become the beacon of light, so you become the example that they can say, hey, it is possible. Because the reason they're not making those shifts that you want is because they don't know it's possible. They're numb to the possibility.
I agree with you, Gary. That's what I told my staff, because my staff were feeling a little bit down, couldn't see the response. You know what I told them? I say, the more they don't respond, the more they need us.
Yes.
They need us to show the way.
Yeah.
I told them, I motivated my team because they felt so down. I motivated them as what you just say, because I myself felt a little bit down. But then I said, I need to shift. I need to shift my thinking. That the more they are like that, the more they need us. the more we need to awaken, even if it is just 3 of them or 4 of them that we awaken,
Yeah.
it's something. So
Right.
that was what you said, Gary, is absolutely true, which that's why I said, well, whatever you speak, I resonate with you. But
Yeah.
it takes this journey, this maturity, this thing to think beyond what an ordinary thing that they don't. Okay, if they don't, we need to do more so
Yeah.
that they become. And yeah.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
Gene,
And when you do,
think of it like this. Think of it like
Yeah.
this. So what Gary's saying is that is for you to radiate love, right? Okay. Well, think of the other people out there that are radiating fear. What are they afraid of? Because they can't radiate fear
Yeah.
unless they are fear.
they have to
Unless-
hold fear to radiate it. Right?
Exactly. So they're afraid of something. They're afraid of, I'm not going to speak for them, but are they afraid of losing their power, losing their status, losing their wealth, losing, we don't know, but they are radiating that fear for a reason, and they're doing a great job of it. Now you're saying that this has been the worst that it's ever been. Well, that is also because there's more technology now that can spread that better than we've ever been able
Because
to.
as a society, as a global community, we're more connected now than we've ever been. So
Right.
so what we're noticing that it's happening not just with us, but all around the freaking world.
Right.
That's what we're noticing.
Right.
Right. And if we, again, when you do what you did with your staff, right, what happens, Gene, is you showed up in your truth and in more of your empowered state, and you presented that to them. And then by doing that, whether it's 1, 2, or 10 people you were talking to, that showed them that, hey, that state I was feeling, I don't have to feel. And then when they see someone else that's feeling a state like that, they can say, hey, I know from my experience with Gene that I don't. So they then can reflect that to the next person down the line, and that ripple effect happens. But what happens, we need to be consistently in that. We need to, like I said, we need to be more consistent with what we want to project out there than what the contrast is that's currently going on.
Right. And that's why we created the idea of the choice convergence point. So everyone has a place to go. When everything is becoming, is too much, they're like, oh, why am I feeling this place? Then I'm just going to go back to my CCP. Like, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's a conscious decision. The idea, though, is as we progress, you're just always there.
Yeah.
You're just always there. But sometimes we as everyone just gets hit so hard with stuff or something so big that you get that overwhelm. Overwhelm is a sense of fear and such. You're like, okay, why am I feeling this overwhelm? I need to go back. I need to step back, get into the choice convergence point. So now I can observe instead of participate in this chaos.
Beautiful. I when I was in that state, I went to my CCP. You are right.
Yes,
Now that you mentioned it, and then sort of I got my balance back, and
Right.
then I knew what to say to my team. So when we have a Zoom call,
Right.
I sort of motivated them in that. But I was in that state, and then as you said, I stepped back,
Yeah.
went into my CCP, rethink again. How am I going to manage that? How to redefine it, and then yeah. So what you have been teaching, I'm a good student. I practice.
We
Well,
know.
so because the more you practice, so just like the way that people are being bombarded with the fear and the fear mongering, it's just like that. You've reversed it. You're bombarding yourself. You're choosing to bombard yourself with the more of the love and the empowerment and the growth.
Hmm.
And so now it's just become, oh, well, this is just how it is.
Mhm.
Okay, for me. And the idea, and we had this discussion once before, is that people are going, people will start to notice. They're like, well, how come you're so calm? Well, let me tell you, let me explain to you that this mindset, this thought process,
And as
let
long
me,
as you're doing that from not with the ulterior motive of trying to change people, as long as you're doing it for the truth of, hey, that's just who I am and who I want to be,
right,
then that reflects out and empowers them to see that they can do it without the need for you.
right,
Right? If we're doing it with the intention, and when I first started in the personal growth world, right? I mean, I was a teenager, and I didn't know any better, so I thought, oh, I'm learning all this great stuff, and I see all my friends or even family members that are having all these challenges and all these difficulties, and I can help fix them. I can do this. Hey, you got, and I would be this, this evangelist that's going out and wanted to tell them that there's different ways, there's things you can do, and there's choices,
dun, dun,
and
dun.
and I would just hit against these brick walls all the time.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah.
Same here. It's like,
Yeah.
whoa.
And then something shifted in me and goes, that I got that, hey, I'm not responsible for them. What I am responsible for is how I show up for them. That's it.
Right.
That's true, Gary. That's true.
Right. And as long as I can stay consistent in who I show up as, then they can either choose to shift or not, but it's still not my responsibility.
Or choose to be curious. To
Which is a
choose
shift,
to,
right? Which
yeah,
is a shift.
exactly. To choose to be curious and go, hey, Gary, how come you're so calm?
Yeah,
How
and
come,
I get that
how
a
come
lot.
this? What do you do to do this?
I
And
get
then
that a lot
you
of
become a resource of, I don't know what's going on. Let's go ask Gary.
Yeah.
Because he always seems to have his finger on the pulse. And that's the idea, is that you become the example, not the preacher, not the guru, not the hero.
Gandhi didn't go out and force people to sign a piece of paper. He just was him, right?
Right.
Martin Luther King just went out and he did his thing. You think of the people that made huge shifts on the global scale. They didn't go out with a you have to change because they went out with a message. They went out with a presence of being who they were consistently, more than the establishment was fighting up or pushing up against them. And that's what we have to do as individuals now. I think that we're in a place, because we're so collective, so connected, both with the internet and the internet to me is just like a physical manifestation of our ethereal cords, right? It's a physical manifestation of how we've connected over the years, through technology. That's it, right? It's neither good nor bad. It's just a connection tool to get information, to share information, and to be aware of what else is going on outside of this vessel called the body, right? And as that happens, and as we now get to this place where we're seeing that we all individually have access to the type of resources, knowledge, information, and wisdom that people like Gandhi, Martin Luther, the whole list goes on, that they had, then we don't have to think it's just one person's going to come and make a change. No, why don't I start with me? And why don't I look for where I can get access to that? Where can I get a place where I can be more empowered? Just opening up for that in the thought realm, right? Just in the thought realm alone, then opens up the portals for those to show up as synchronistic portholes for you to step down, just like with Eugene. Just all of a sudden, we showed up and it was just at the right timing for when you need. Same with you, Maria. I mean, it's not coincidental, right? It's co-created, just not always aware that it's being co-created.
Think of Gary's examples of Martin Luther King and Gandhi, Jesus, all
Martin
of them.
Luther, yeah, I mean,
think of those examples of those particular people. They said, you, Jean, you, Maria, you, Mary, you, Shirley, you can be better.
Mhm.
They didn't say fight against the man or, this, that, or this, that. Only, only your people who are looking for power and are coming from a place of hate want to divide and separate. Because when you divide and separate, it is much easier. It's like, well, I'm just going to have both sides fighting each other.
Yeah.
And then I'll weaken them all and such. But those,
It
the
takes the
example.
energy away from them being the bad guy to everybody else being the bad guy.
Exactly.
Right.
And they become the puppet master instead.
Yeah.
But what the examples that Gary used, though, are people who are trying to build individuals. And then those individuals said, hey, you're kind of like me. Yeah, you're kind of like me. And then there's another, you're like us, and you're like us. And so they had a united front of, we want love and we want justice and we want, to grow and be individuals. We want to be ourselves. And so that was the big difference. As toward today, we see this polarity, we see this divide across the globe. We really do. And that's kind of what's happened, is like, I am the blue team, you're the red team, however you want to. I'm the yellow, I'm the green, I'm, this is my flag, that's your flag, and such. We're seeing constantly dividing and such. And then, as Gary said, then you have this side fighting this side and weaken them both. And then, somebody comes in afterwards and just, scoops up the remains. That's what we see, but it's not necessarily what has to be. And each of us, Gary and myself, we're just, as we said, we are just here to point things out. We're here to say, think differently about this. And such, change that perspective. It's a choice. We're just saying, listen, this is just what we see. This is what we believe. And you can choose to not.
Yeah.
But it works. It seems to be working. Working for a lot of people.
Yeah, and for those that it doesn't work for, it's not our responsibility, right? We're sharing one point of perspective in infinity. That's it. One point of perspective for infinity. That's it. It's so, our point is not the be all end all. It's a pretty powerful one in our opinion. And the tools that we're bringing are things that we've used for ourselves as well as with our clients over the years, and so we know that they have the efficacy, and but it's still up to people to choose to step into the realm of participating, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what else you want to chat about here, Ross?
Any more questions? Jean, any more questions? Shirley, Mary, you can type in your questions if you don't want to
screen.
Get
I
on
took myself off mute. I
Alright.
do have a question.
All right.
With regards to, because I've been, since reading The Biology of Belief,
Mhm.
and some other books, the last year or so, I've been dealing with childhood trauma
Okay.
and trying to unplant that and reprogram reactions, tendencies, those things that happen automatically that sometimes cause you to step back and go, oh, what was that? And why was that? So my question is regarding people that are caught and sometimes appears addicted to fear states. What part do you think that unnoticed, unhealed trauma, what role, because some folks just aren't ready to see that, and like you said, it's not my responsibility for someone else, but shoot, you could help them so much if you could just point it out. And they go, oh, look at that. But so many folks don't think they have a choice. And it's because of that one of the psychology books I read said, we are being programmed from the third trimester of birth until we are 7. And we know the
Yep.
Buddhists and all that fabulous
Mhm.
saying, give us the
First 7
child till they're
years,
7
yeah.
and I can show you the man.
Mhm.
But it goes even beyond anything where we're even, out of the womb, which I was absolutely astonished.
Yeah.
And so that actually explained a lot to me about the level of fear that I had maintained in my life, because I wasn't supposed to survive pregnancy.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Interesting.
my mother's belief was that I was dead. So having that third trimester experience, how much do those things, do you think, affect the world that we live in today? Because you see so much trauma, so much abandonment, so much abuse, so many critical points in children's lives where they're not supported emotionally. And so I think my heart has actually gotten more compassionate, because I say, oh my God, what has that person gone through
Yeah.
to
Absolutely.
make them react and what they think is respond in that manner,
Mhm.
And it's just, for me, it can be a little frustrating since I'm on my own path and my family members are dragging along, because we were all raised in the same household. But for them to notice, like, you have a choice, you do have a choice, but you have to see it first.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to see the choice in others before you can know that it's possible for you, right? And that's where it comes down to, is where, as you start to express your ability to evolve through those experiences that you've had, and come out on the other end, more shining and radiant as the truth of who you are, as opposed to what you've been conditioned to be. And that's really what you can do, is to see that those things served you in a way that, and remember that even though you're all living in the same household, you all respond differently to what happened in that household.
Indeed.
You
Indeed.
perceived
Right?
events differently.
Yeah, and so your version of it, showed up the way that it did for you. And from the time that it, even in the womb part of it, the reason that impacts you is because what happens with the mother as she's going through her emotions during that time is going to affect her DNA, which in effect is going to affect your DNA, because you're part of her DNA.
Right.
Right, the communication she hears, the states that she goes through for those 9 months, it's having an impact on how that impresses upon the fetal structure as it develops. It can't not, because it's feeding off of that. Right, and so the from a soul level, right, from a spiritual level, we can say that, or think in the mind frame, that there was a contract or agreement that you had with your mom to come in at that time to experience all those things, so that you could grow and experience all the stuff you had in your life, to build the resistance, the strength, the wherewithal, the wisdom, the insight, all up to this current moment right now.
I had never thought of that.
Right, and coming from that place, you're no longer a victim, and that's a powerful place to be. Because we can't make choice when we feel we're victim, because victim means you don't have choice. And that's when you can step into the choice convergence point at its truest place, because from that place you can be free from all of that. Can you feel that?
Indeed.
Yeah. And that's where healing starts. That's where it starts, because from now, from when you shed all that, you can now choose to make new choices from a more clear space, from a more true, integral, aligned place. And then lock into more of those.
It certainly has made me more compassionate to even though I see the fear being pushed, feel like that is not root cause.
No.
Fear in itself is not.
Here's a symptom. It's a reaction.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Because
So this is where your place is to be the beacon of hope, because you don't have the fear any longer. You're in the choice convergence point, and when you're standing there, you're like a lighthouse, and people will gravitate towards you.
And I'm going to alter that slightly in saying that just be the beacon of you, Mary. Hope,
Yeah.
whether someone feels hope from it or fear, or what, that's their issue, not yours. Be Mary.
yeah, that's actually still quite a mystery.
And
That's
I
the
get
fun
it.
of it.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah, that's still quite the mystery, because when you wake up in the morning, and I feel like the collective experience is this as well. When you wake up in the morning and you think you know who you are, and then you discover things, you go, wait a second, nope, that isn't it. Wrong answer. Keep looking.
Yeah. Well, but you need those experiences of who you're not to find out who you are, because how else would you do it, right? You need to have very clear, distinct boundaries of who you're not to find out who you are.
You're right. And there've been since, and I I've been watching the Infinity Matrix group for well over a year.
I know, we see
and
you.
basically the biology of belief is the one that sent me. And I've read another book, great book called The Body Keeps the Score. But because it's helped me with, but there have been so many changes. I couldn't list them in an hour and a half.
Nice.
Because I've had to, with our conversations, and watching the Thursday live streams and watching them. Some of them I've replayed 5, 6, 7 times and get little morsels out of each additional time that I watch it. It's given me permission to live less driven by someone else. Basically, I say to my brother all the time, don't let somebody else drive your bus.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's given me permission to eject other bus drivers.
Nice.
Which is why we were building fence all summer to bring my gelding home. And because I needed to remove myself from that situation in one way, a different situation in one way or another. I needed to attend to my own needs, and y'all made that possible, because it cleared a path and it gave me permission. And sometimes that's what folks need. And I hear what you're saying loud and clear. Sometimes people just need the space in order to say, I don't have to live in this fear. I don't have to continue ingest the fear. I don't watch the news, haven't watched TV it's been years, because my previous consistency just wouldn't allow it. I was already too rattled to watch the news, and I knew that just added more. And so it didn't I don't know. Anyway, it didn't resonate with me. So I stopped. And so it's good to know, it's good to have a space. It's good to have the space. It's good to allow people the space. And I like to think that I help those that I am closest to, as in physical contact with, or emotional contact, to give them the space to be less afraid and to make decisions that are congruent with who they are, whatever those decisions are. As long as you're not harming another being, we're good, right? So
not intentionally, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And so I think, again, with regard to fear, because I've lived my fair share of that, I think it's good to be the space for others to discharge. Now, I'm not really take on somebody else's fear, but you give them the space to discharge their fear. So you go, well, okay, you can decide something else. And I'm not going to judge you for that.
Yeah.
Or I'm not going to judge you for not swimming in the same stream as most other folks. It's
Yeah.
okay to swim in the other direction or
Yeah.
pick a different path or pick. So that's actually been huge. And I haven't ever been that person before,
Wow.
because I was one of those folks that passed judgment on everybody because they didn't do it right.
Yeah.
Whatever air quotes right might be.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the truth?
So, yeah. So it's been, and I still have some stuff to clean up. Obviously, I've only started this work a couple of years ago, but and my 57th birthday is next week. But
Oh,
anyway,
okay.
anyway, it feels good to be make these discoveries and be the space for others
Mhm.
Mhm.
in a way that's not intrusive. Because like you, Gary, and Ross, I'm sure, as I've come up this route, it's been a long way to get where I am. I've thought that I could fix people on my way up, and I
Mhm.
can't.
Yeah.
It's been a realization. You can't even patch them together. As much as their pain hurts me,
Yeah.
right, because of my compassion level,
Yeah.
I can't even put a Band-Aid on it because they just tear it off anyway. Right. And it just all has to be discovered on their own.
Right.
And all I can be is me, like you said. And that resonates with me so strongly. And I am have so much gratitude for this group
Oh, thank you.
because
Thanks.
you've helped to heal me
Thank you.
in places that I didn't realize potentially didn't need to be healed.
Mhm.
And you've given me the space generously to make different decisions. And in
Mhm.
fact, not only have you given me the space, you've encouraged me to do it.
Nice.
Mary,
Which is-
can I say something?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
know, I admire you for your courage to own it, to say it, and to come up front to say it and share it in the group. For that, I applaud you, because in recognizing it, you're already stepping into the realm of your own, and you have begin to forgive your fears and whoever. But the most important about forgiving them is also to forgive yourself. And by talking about it, you are already forgiving yourself to be able to express this. And I think that's marvelous. And that is really a great awakening in yourself. Clap to you.
Yeah.
Applause to you.
Thank you. Thank you. But thank you. The new deal is, though, Gina, you say that is the only way. The work currently is embracing my own darkness, because sometimes people see you and they see you as the beacon light, but they don't understand that you've been through some shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the only way that you can be the light, and so by embracing those challenges and like Gary said early on, it's part of who I am. It's
Yeah,
what's
good.
gotten me to this point. And do I love it? Well, we're working on that, but it.
It's so here's the thing. So I, I've mentioned that, in past stream, I don't remember if it was on Rabbit Hole or live stream, I don't remember, but, my father committed suicide when I was in my early 20s. And I grew up in a very abusive, physically and emotionally abusive alcoholic home. And when I look back on that time, the time it happened, it sucked the bone. It was just, I hated it, right? It was just like my life was like, I wanted to get out of there. I never wanted to be home. I was always finding a way to escape. You can't tell you how many times cops picked me up for running away from home, a lot. And I would dread going back. I literally would dread going back. And so the experience as it happened wasn't good. But as I grew up and I look back on it, those things gave me reference points that I would have never otherwise had. So I actually appreciate them. I wouldn't want to have them happen again, but I appreciate them for when they happened, at the time they happened, to give me the experiences, the development that needed to happen for me to be who I am today, which I'm super happy with. If any one of those things were slightly off, I could be different today. Any one of those things.
Right.
So I
Right.
accept them as they were a part of my choices. They were a part of my journey, from whether it was on a level I was aware of or not. There was something on a mental, emotional, spiritual level that I chose. And I'm okay with that, because if I chose it, there was a higher part of me knew that I was needing it.
Yeah, but Gary, it's well said, because you see, it's only when you go through the darkness, you have to go through the pain, that you begin to see the light and appreciate the light. And when
But I think
you go
that
through the
again, that comes to
pain,
definition, Gene, because I think that when you say that, some people think that there's different types of pain and there's different levels of pain tolerance for different people. So, I hear you, and I just want to caution the idea, or putting the energy out there, that we have to go through darkness to feel, because I don't believe we do necessarily. I think we need to be aware of it and understand it, and maybe even, get some reference of it, because I can see someone else have a dark experience and not have to experience it and change from that.
true, they say, true, Gary, but having gone through it, like what Mary had gone through, some pains and sufferings,
Mhm.
it's good in the sense that the positive part is that you go through it, you recognize it, and you want to be out of it. And when you're out of it, you know where it is. So when another person or the brother or anybody else who's in that, she can better help the person,
Yeah.
because you've gone through the path. And when you've gone through the path and you come out of it, you can feel and become more empathetic. You can be more empathetic with the person,
Yeah.
and you can be the light to that person without realizing that you could be the light.
Yeah, without the intention of trying to be the light. Just be the light.
Yes.
Just be Mary, right? Just be Shirley.
Yes.
Just be Maria. Just be
Yeah.
Jean.
True,
Just be
true.
Ross. Just be you at the truest core possible. And when you're there, you don't have to play the game of fear unless you choose to, unless there's some part of you feels that it's going to serve you. It's going to serve you to survive. It's going to serve you to evolve. Then feel the fear to its fullest. Don't play. Don't dabble in it. Feel it to its fullest, so you can evolve the most, so you can be safest the most. But but if it comes from a place of a destructiveness, then that's when I think that we want to kind of step back again, unless that destructiveness for a period of time serves you. I'm not attached to it not serving you. I'm just saying that you've got to find out what's right for you. Yeah. So
That's why we
Mary,
don't,
for
that's why
jumping on.
we don't say to remove anything. We don't use that terminology, forget this, and, well, I got rid of that experience. It's like, well, no, it's an experience. It's still there. It's just learn from it, convert it, redefine it.
Yeah.
As we were talking about with fear, redefine it, turn it into an energy, turn it into a foundation of who you are. All of Gary's experiences as a child became the foundation, a rock solid foundation for him to stand on.
Yeah.
And
if I
that's what Mary
forgot
is
that,
starting to do.
yeah, if I forgot any of those, or if I eliminated any of those, then how would I have that reference to know not to go back into it?
Exactly. So we learn from those experiences and we cherish them. We learn from our fear and we cherish it and such, because again, it becomes another brick in your foundation that you can stand on. I was talking with somebody just a couple of days ago, and we were kind of talking about kids and how kids are grown in this generation that's coming up and such, where there became this way of where parents were trying to shield their kids from experiences, and I'm kind of thinking about this, going, well, if you shield them from those experiences, then you're also not allowing them to learn and to build a foundation to live their life from. and such. And well, I want them to I want them to have what I didn't have, or whatever the case is. Well, but think of all those experiences that you had that you're now resting upon and building upon, and you're taking those away. You're actually doing them a disservice. Now, I'm not saying that they, should just let them go out and get hurt or whatever and such, but I said, but let them live. That's how they learn. That's how children learn. They learn by falling down, going, oh, that didn't work very well. And then they get up and go again, and they try it a little bit differently. Oh, that didn't work either. They get up and they go again. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's how we as a species learn. And so you can always tell the difference between somebody who's book learned and street learned. Am I right? You can always just see, that person that you're talking to. I mean, I have a good friend of mine who,
Sorry, Ross, I'm just going to interject real quick.
Sure.
I've got to run.
Okay.
Because I've got an appointment to get to. So I'm going to leave you to kind of close off. I put you as host.
Sounds
Be well,
good.
everyone. Thank you, Mary, for joining in and sharing. I appreciate that. And we appreciate you just as much as you appreciate us. And same with Maria and Jean and everyone else that's listening. We'll see you guys on the next stream. Be well, everyone.
Sounds good.
Have a good day.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So this friend that I have, his background is beyond what what I have ever experienced. He lived on the streets. He ran in gangs. He was a drug dealer. He was, he had just been through stuff. And I would talk to him. I'm just fascinated. And but you could always tell that he was just a little rough around the edges. And he appreciates the life that he had. He says, well, that's who I am. He goes, and I make decisions based on my experiences and such. And he's not in that, he's been out of that realm of life for, a long time now, but it's still a reference for him. And it's still a valuable knowledge for him. He goes, it wasn't great. It was terrible. He goes, I went hungry. I saw friends die. And such. But he goes, but, it made me who I am. And I have a family. I have children. I teach children. I tell my children how my life was and such, so that they can start to understand. And so the fears that we experience and the memories that we have, we take those and we convert them. And we say, now I know what I don't want, but I'm not going to forget it. I'm going to use it as, oh, well, hang on. So because when maybe you something in your life starts to change and you start going towards that memory, like, whoa. You have a reference point. No, that I said I didn't want that. I'm going to go back over this way. And says that's what it's all about. That's why when some people make comments on the group, it's like, well, I'm getting rid of this, I'm getting rid of that, and I'm pushing this down. It's like, no, don't. Such change it, convert it, make it work for you. It becomes a power, just like we were expressing on Thursday. Take your fear that you have and turn it into a power. Utilize it.
Oh,
Maria.
the picture is frozen.
Oh,
I
that
can
happened to
see
you on
it.
Thursday too, didn't it? Did that happen to
What?
you on the live stream as well?
Yes, was well. Yeah,
Yeah.
on Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday. You mean yes? It was well. Not at the beginning, yes, and then after 20 minutes, the pic was frozen too.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
We were getting warnings on our side all the time. There's something comes up on our screen that just flashes and said that you're not streaming, then it goes away. Then you're not streaming, then it goes away. So there was something internally with the software at probably at in this case at Facebook, but this is not Facebook. This is Zoom. So probably you're just losing your signal somewhere.
Okay.
So, and this has been going on for, over the last year as more and more people have been are doing more meetings and things like that from home. They're, pushing the grid to its max.
Oh,
Anyhow,
okay,
so
now-
we're pretty much run over. Any other questions anybody has? Any quick questions?
no, it was
All right.
it was wonderful and well understanding.
Fantastic.
Really.
Mary, thank you for your story. Thank you for
Thank-
sharing everything with us. That is amazing.
Ross, thank you too. Thank you for
our
all
pleasure.
that.
It's our pleasure.
It
Ross,
helps
good
me.
night. Good night, Maria and Mary.
Hi, Jean. I didn't see you. I didn't see you. I have a small picture on my phone. Sorry. I want to greet you too.
All right. Thank you
Yes.
so much, ladies. Everybody
Well,
have a
thank-
wonderful, wonderful week.
Thank you, Ross.
Yes,
Pam.
wonderful.
Jean, Maria, have a good day or
Thank
good
you.
sleep.
Mary,
Have a good day.
enjoy your time. Thank you for sharing. Bye.
You're welcome.
Right.
Have a